Hello, friends. Welcome to today's reading lesson. Today, we are going to work on Amos and Boris, and we're going to work on some star skills that is going to help us become better readers and have us some practice with some star aligned questions. So, for your do now today, I want you to type, what does it mean to have a good heart? So, like I said, today we're going to be talking about Amos and Boris. And today we're going to be able to determine how key details help us answer questions about characters, plot, context clues, and sequencing by answering multiple choice questions. So, for reading, we're going to read pages 12 through 19 and 24 through 28 of Amos and Boris to give us some insight into what we're going to answer questions about today. So, I'm going to see you in just a second to read the story. All right, friends. So we're going to go ahead and read pages 12 to the end of the story. But I want to review the very beginning of the story just to refresh our minds about how the story started. So, in the beginning, we meet Amos, a mouse who loves the ocean. He starts to build a boat because he wants to explore the ocean, and he finishes his boat, gets his materials ready, and he sets sail onto the ocean. Everything is smooth sailing. He's loving it. He's enjoying the nights. He sees some whales, and one night he got a little too comfortable and rolled off the side of his boat. Then Amos is stuck in the ocean, alone and scared, not knowing how to help himself. And this is where he meets Boris the whale. So we're going to go ahead and start reading on this page here. And we're going to read from here to the end. So it says Amos introduced himself and told Boris how he came to be there in the middle of the ocean. The whale said he would be happy to take Amos to the Ivory Coast of Africa, where he happened to be headed anyway, to attend a meeting of whales from all of the seven seas. But Amos said he'd had enough adventure to last him a while. He wanted only to get back and hoped the whale wouldn't mind going out of his way to take him there. Not only would I not mind, said Boris, I would consider it a privilege. What other whale in the world in all the world ever had a chance to get to know such a strange creature as you? Please climb aboard. And Amos got on Boris's back. Are you sure you're a mammal? Amos asked. You smell more like a fish. Then Boris the whale went swimming along with Amos the mouse on his back. What a relief it is to be safe, so secure. Amos lay down in the sun, and being worn to a frazzle, he was soon asleep. Then, all of a sudden, he was in the water again, wide awake, spluttering and splashing about. Boris had forgotten for a moment that he had a passenger on his back and had sounded. When he realized his mistake, he surfaced so quickly that Amos was sent somersaulting tail over whiskers high into the air. Hitting the water hurt. Crazy with rage, Amos screamed and punched at Boris until he remembered he owed his life to the whale and quietly climbed on his back. From then on, whenever Boris wanted to sound, he warned Amos in advance and got his okay, and whenever he sounded, Amos took a swim. Swimming along, sometimes at great speed, sometimes slowly and leisurely, sometimes resting and exchanging ideas, sometimes stopping to sleep. It took them a week to reach Amos's home shore. During that time, they developed a deep admiration for one another. Boris admired the delicacy, the quivering quaintness, daintiness, the light touch, the small voice, the gem like radiance of the mouse. Amos admired the bulk, the grandeur, the power, the purpose, the rich voice, and the abounding friendliness of the whale. They became the closest possible friends. They told each other about their lives, their ambitions. They shared their deepest secrets with each other. The whale was very curious about life on land and was sorry that he could never experience it. Amos was fascinated by the whale's accounts of what went on deep under the sea. Amos sometimes enjoyed running up and down on the whale's back for exercise. When he was hungry, he ate plankton. The only thing he missed was fresh, unsalty water. The time came to say goodbye. They were at the shore. I wish we could be friends forever, said Boris. We will be friends forever, but we can't be together. You must live on land, and I must live at sea. I'll never forget you, though, and you can be sure I'll never forget you, said Amos. I will always be grateful to you for saving my life, and I want you to remember that if you ever need my help, I'd be more than glad to give it. How he could ever possibly help Boris, Amos didn't know, but he knew he was willing. He knew how willing he was. The whale couldn't take Amos all the way into land. They said their last goodbye, and Amos dived off Boris's back and swam to the sand. From the top of the cliff, he watched Boris spout twice and disappear. Boris laughed at himself. How could that little mouse ever help me? Little as he is, he's all heart. I love him and I'll miss him terribly. Boris went to the conference off the ivory coast of Africa and then went back to life wailing about, while Amos returned to his life of mousing around, and they were both happy. Many years after the incidents just described, when Amos was no longer a very young mouse and when Boris was no longer a very young whale, there occurred one of the worst storms of the century, Hurricane Yetta. And it just so happened that Boris the whale was flung ashore by a tidal wave and stranded on the very shore where Amos happened to make his home. It also just so happened that when the storm had cleared up and Boris was lying high and dry on the sand, losing his moisture in the hot sun and needing desperately to be back in the water, Amos came down to the beach to see how much damage Hurricane Yetta had done. Of course, Boris and Amos recognized each other at once. I don't have to tell you how these old friends felt at meeting again in this desperate situation. Amos rushed toward Boris. Boris could only look at Amos. Amos, help me, said the mountain of a whale to the mote of a mouse. I think I'll die if I don't get back in the water soon. Amos gazed at Boris in an agony of pity. He realized he had to do something very fast, and he had to think very fast about what it was he had to do. Suddenly, he was gone. I'm afraid he won't be able to help me, said Boris to himself. Much as he wants to do something, what can such a little fellow do? Just as Amos had once felt all alone in the middle of the ocean, Boris felt now, lying alone on the shore. He was sure he would die, and just as he was preparing to die, Amos came racing back with two of the biggest elephants he could find. Without wasting time, these two good-hearted elephants got to pushing with all their might at Boris's huge body until he began turning over, breaded with sand and rolling down toward the sea. Amos, standing on the head of one of the elephants, yelled instructions, but no one heard him. In a few minutes, Boris was already in the water. With waves washing at him, he was feeling the wonderful wetness. You have to be out of the sea to really know how good it is to be in it, he thought. That's if you're well. Soon he was able to wiggle and wriggle into deeper water. He looked back at Amos on the elephant's head. Tears were rolling down the great whale's cheeks. The tiny mouse had tears in his eyes, too. Goodbye, dear friend, squeaked Amos. Goodbye, dear friend, rumbled Boris, and he disappeared in the waves. They knew they might never meet again. They knew they would never forget each other. A whale might help a mouse, but what can a mouse do to help a whale? So in the next section, I'm going to model for you the skills that we're going to work on today. Then you're going to get a chance to answer your exit ticket and you're going to finish your lesson. So I'll see you in the next section.